Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Final Results Live. I do appreciate you guys with all your patience. I did put up that post in the post tab. It was the community tab. I always call it the community tab. It's the post tab now, on why I have been delayed. So thank you for all of you guys who have wished me feeling better. And whether it was on the comment thread or in PM, I appreciate you. And we're gonna get through this live. I'm off camera because if I start wincing and stuff like that, that's just not the point. So we're gonna start with Lorraine. Lorraine, this is your final candle. So you can see we've got a whole lot of wax still on here. It's all over the inside of the candle. There is less on what is being released than anywhere else. So I know that a part of you is very much ready to let these things go. We haven't just quite gotten there yet. And I think once we do, you'll be more ready to welcome in these things. And to help you get rid of those things, definitely focus on these, right? Divine protection, faith in the divine, right? Exposing the truth and that the truth is received as it's meant to be, right? Really, that self-trust and self-belief is something that we're going to be working on for you. Hey, Cher, thanks. So overall, Lorraine, like we definitely touched on a major block, right? Major throat chakra block. And that's going to be something that you can work on throughout the rest of this cycle, especially over the next 6 months. Eclipse tend to last longer than just a regular moon cycle. So this is definitely something to work on with the rest of the whole Pisces, Virgo, nodal thing that's going on. All right, Miss Lorraine. Sherry, since you're here, we'll do you next. This is your candle. We got a lot of clarity on yours. All right, which is good. We do have some banding around the bottom. Feeling unpretty, patterns of spiritual pause. The feeling, quote unquote, unpretty is probably the biggest one. And the welcoming in energy for that specifically was gratitude for the vehicle that got us to where we are. All of your other stuff is pretty clear. Like there's some residual banding, but it doesn't quite hit on those spots. It tends to go just around it, right? So the biggest thing is just focusing on really loving yourself and knowing that the form that we take in this life is divine. It is meant to help us to get to wherever we are meant to be. And the lessons that we're learning, it gives us that space to do what we need to do for ourselves spiritually without getting distracted by the physicality of it. You know, really being appreciative for who you are and what it's allowed for you to heal in this life and how it will continue to help you heal, right? What needs to be healed in this life. So it's 4:44 there. I love that. It's 1:44 here. Our higher vibrations are definitely present. All right. Missy Lisa, for your candle, honest to God, looked a heck of a lot like Lorraine's initially, to be completely honest. And the fact that you really started cracking through some things, this glass is a whole lot clearer than it was during the burning process. So kudos to you on really reining it in. And happy birthday. Happy birthday as you go into this new year, because these things, you know, when we talk about letting go of the fear of disapproval, engagement, you know, with the ego and the different things that we think we want, right, when they're not necessarily in our highest good, that distrust of the inner knowing because we want certain things, feeling disassociated from what matters. I mean, you and I talked a little bit in PM, and I think that you really did start cracking through that, especially the last one, because that ended up clear. For the most part, it ended up clear down here. It's just kind of tailing off on the end at the bottom. But all of this other stuff, I think that it's just a great thing to keep in mind, like loving and approving of the self, honoring the divine feminine, right? Your intuitive facet, faith in the divine, clarity on what matters the most. I think that you're really tuning into it. So good on you, Elisa, for really cracking down on yourself, because sometimes we need to, sometimes we need to. Even myself, like this eclipse in Virgo, it hit my IC line, and Virgo rules the house of health. And I've definitely been dealing with it since the eclipse popped off, for sure. And now that I'm dealing with certain things, I'm making adjustments, and I'm holding faith that, with a strict new mindset on how I'm going about it, I will be successful. It's just a matter of time and patience and getting used to the new until I can get into a better sense of healed normalcy, right? Where I don't have to be as strict as I have to be right now in order to catch up to where I need to be, right? And that just kind of happens in general. Talking about myself, right, and getting into my own candle. My candle struggled. My candle really struggled this cycle. Out of all the candles, mine was the only one that went out multiple times. I even had an assist at some point for about an hour, and then I was able to pull the assist out. My candle was able to stabilize on its own and continue to stay stable after that. But dealing with, the energy and the blocks and things like that, it was fucking rough, man. It's just a matter of acknowledging where the blocks are and getting a hold of your shit. I really had to rein myself in watching my candle, because it really was accurate. It really was, like, unfortunate truth, accurate to how I was feeling and the things that I was battling with that eclipse on my IC line. And I'm going to be focusing a lot on the bottom of this, which is, the vampiric people and the connection sources that they have to my energy, and being grateful for all the ones that I've met thus far, because it really helped me find myself. It wasn't the best, sunshine and rainbows process, but it was definitely a necessary one. Divinely accepting what is something I'm going to be working on receiving. And now that I've got a good handle on what is going on with myself physically, I do fully anticipate recovery. A lot of you know that I completely trashed my digestive system at my last, quote unquote regular job. I was working over 70 hours a week plus commutes and essentially running off of Red Bull, and I wasn't eating like I should have been. I was literally just running on Red Bull. And I couldn't eat dairy anymore. I had ruined my gut lining so bad that I could not eat dairy without having what was like an allergic reaction. So in order to help my gut lining bounce back, I started a strict diet incorporating certain foods. However, those foods were also really high in oxalates, and my kidneys were already stressed out for the same reason and ended up developing pretty serious kidney stones. So now that I'm fully aware of what the fuck I did, I am tweaking my diet further to be low oxalate as possible, and increasing calcium where I can, because dairy is still off the table. So I'm connecting puzzle pieces with ChatGPT and Google to figure out exactly what I can eat to combat the stones while not irritating other issues that I'm already having. So I've got a pretty good plan, guys. I've got a pretty good plan. I think I can manage. All things are temporary. Once I get through the bulk of this and start to get over the stones and start to break them down and pass the stones, I will be able to just live more normally and eat more normally again. And that is the goal. So I appreciate you guys for the well wishes. Yeah, we did honestly, these candles, all of these candles, you know, like the results, it's not necessarily about who's clear and who's not clear and who finishes first and things like that. It's really about identifying where in our own personal energy space we need to focus in order to move forward and make progress with what we came here to do in this life, you know. And when we see these blocks like this, it's a good thing because we are able to become consciously aware of it and choose accordingly. You know, would it be great for us all to have crystal clear candles all the time and clear glass and no burn issues? Like, yeah, that would be great. That would mean we don't need the candles, you know, and I would be thrilled. But the reality is we are all here processing through things in our histories, things that are still deeply rooted in our systems. Like if you look at, you know, just the metaphysical aspect of what I'm dealing with, you know, with digestive issues and kidney issues, it's about detoxifying the system from habits that are toxic, you know, even if we don't realize how toxic they are. And that includes, you know, especially with my candle dealing with the release of vampiric energy, like I let go of multiple people during this eclipse cycle, some really close to me for a long time, some that I saw a really beautiful future with where the alignment just wasn't there and I had to catch it before it began, and others where I just kind of had to admit to myself that it's not a good fit for me, you know, even if the attraction from them towards me was there. I was not feeling it the same way. There was just a basic incompatibility. And so, you know, it's allowing myself to get out of old patterns that do attract vampiric energies and or which put me in a position where I become vampiric, and that's something I don't want to be. And really allowing myself to filter through the energies so that I can attract and be a part of healthy relationship dynamics, which is something I've never had in my life. You know, people that are in my everyday experience that I see every day that are genuinely incorporating me as a person, as an extension of them, the way that I consider other people. You know, I was watching a video, like a reel or something on Facebook about Teal Swan, and she goes, you know, humans, she goes, we're really shitty at love. She goes, a lot of people just want to be valued. She's like, but that's not even what love is. Like, love is when you take on another person as a part of yourself. And I thought to myself, well, that's how I've always been. You know, like when I quote unquote love someone, I always look at them as an extension of myself, and their happiness is important. That's why I consider them. That's why, you know, I'm honest and transparent with them, because they are an extension of me. And I love them the way I would want to be loved, you know? And I think the biggest problem that I've had is connecting with people who don't genuinely love the same way. Like, they want to be valued, and I offer that, but if they want to be valued, do they really want to value someone else? And that's where the difference is, you know, the difference between wanting to be valued and wanting to incorporate another person in your life as an extension of your presence. And I would like to find that energy in everybody in my life. You know, either I'm an extension of you or I'm not. And I mean, that's how I treat all of my relationship dynamics, whether it's with my son or with you guys here on the channel. You know, I love you guys as an extension of myself. And I appreciate when you guys consider me in the same way. You know, like if you were in my shoes, how would you want to be treated? You know, so everybody that does, you know, leave comments or drop likes or share it out, you know, I saw on my YouTube analytics that, you know, I actually had a couple videos shared out this week directly from YouTube. And I thought, you know, how nice that people are taking the time to share it, you know, because it really does not just help me personally, but it helps the purpose and the goal, you know, which is to reach people and give people a safe space to process through what they're processing through, to elevate out of the different lower energies that we've become so habitually used to living with. And it becomes our normal, you know, the toxic becomes our normal. And the whole point to me doing what I do is to really identify the toxic. I mean, y'all know I go off on fucking rants. I go off on rants, you know, to really identify the toxic and call it for what it is, and then guide in the best way that I can to something different, you know, that leaves the toxic mindset, no matter what it is, behind, you know, whether you're the blind narcissist on one extreme end of the spectrum or the blind empath on the other extreme, you know, end of the toxic spectrum, and really finding those balances in between where we can thrive in healthy relationship dynamics with each other, and really look at each other on the whole, right, as a humanity, as true extensions of each other, that we wouldn't hurt or use or abuse or neglect each other or ourselves, right? That we would never allow that to continue, you know, that we could evolve into something better, you know, that we're better than that. And that's the whole point of why Spirit has me doing what I do. So thank you, everybody, you know, who treats me and each other as extensions of yourself and puts that healing mindset, that higher focused mindset out there. You know, I appreciate all of you who really step up and do that. The gratitude is real. The gratitude is real. All right. And with that said, guys, I love y'all. I'm going to do my best to go live this week. I know we have the big event, the deep mirror readings coming up on the 18th. I'm going to see where I'm at with my physical health today and tomorrow. And if I feel I need to record them and let them premiere versus being live, just because of where my body is, I'm going to listen to my body, and I'll make sure the readings get out, you know, obviously on time. But I may or may not be actually live for them. So we'll see what ends up transpiring for it. That event sold out in under 12 hours. Like, y'all are incredible. I mean, I didn't have a lot of slots for it, but no sooner than it posted up, like, it was sold out. And I even ended up adding an extra slot. So, you know, you guys are amazing. And I appreciate you and all that you do for yourselves, because that ripple ends up being more valuable than anything I could possibly ask for, you know. So thank you for rippling in the world and being beautiful the way that you are. You're all amazing. You're all amazing. Much love to each and every one of you. And I'll keep up with you soon. Bye, guys.